Sure, we play fantasy, we play sci-fi, we maybe even play superheroes. But maybe, just maybe, we want to play something more akin to Jurassic Park. Let's talk about Raptor Ruckus. Welcome back to the channel. This is the Sacred Art of Gaming, where we love talking about dinosaurs and tabletop gaming. I mean, who doesn't love dinosaurs, right? So this game, Raptor Ruckus, which is not officially out yet, but we do have a beta for the solo rules, and we have a beta for the hacking rules, and we have a beta for the overall rules. There's a bunch of other stuff that's dropping too, extra stuff, but I'm mainly going to focus on the core rulebook and the solo rules. That's what we do. So let's get into it. I'm not going to dive too deeply into the things that you typically expect from a Borg-like game. Those things are here. I'll kind of gloss over them just in case that is new to you. So, more Borg-style game tends to be on the deadlier side. You generally are going to roll a d20, and you have modifiers. So you have the difficulty rating, let's say like a 12. You roll your d20, you add your mod. Your mod is usually like, I don't know, anywhere from a -3 to like a +3. And you meet or beat that difficulty rating. Also, player-facing rolls. So you are not rolling for enemies. You're not rolling for them to hit you. You're rolling to survive them. With that said, there are the attributes of agility, wits, presence, and toughness. Those are all pretty standard from what I've seen. However, survival is new. Let's talk about survival. So survival is something that you can use to get some temporary effects. Like, for example, lower damage dealt to you by d6, lower one test difficulty rating by -4, maximize the damage of an attack that you are doing, reroll any die roll, and also reduce panic count by 2. Panic, also new for this, which everything fits perfectly. It's very thematic, and the art, as you'd imagine with most more Borg-like games, is amazing. Probably splash some of that throughout the video. Now, a panic roll is going to be a difficulty rating of 12, and it's going to be a wits roll. If you fail, you're going to fill a panic pip. At 2 pips, you will fumble on a roll of a 1 or a 2, not just a 1, and everything that comes with that. At 5 pips, which I believe is the max, you will immediately roll on the panic table, which is on page 23, and it is a d6 roll, and you may have something along the lines of cry, sob, or blubber. All other tests are +4 difficulty rating for d4 minutes. All nearby PCs are at +2 difficulty rating to all tests. And that's a thing that happens immediately. And this is to emulate, similar to like Alien, for example, that escalation of chaos and that escalation throughout the story. It looks like it works pretty well. Now, there are 2 ways to remove this, which I'm sure is probably what you're thinking. You know, this sounds bad. How do I get rid of this? It seems easier to get rid of it here than it is in Alien to get rid of the stress dice. But whenever you rest, you remove panic, or you can burn survival, which will reduce to panic. So I think that's pretty handy. Keep in mind, it's pretty easy to die in this style of game, so you need stuff like that. What I feel like is a natural segue, and we'll probably talk about this more later, but we did mention fumbles, and there is something that's also evocative of this theme, which is chaos theory. Fumbles cause chaos, which makes sense. When chaos is caused, the GM, or you, the solo player, you're gonna roll on the chaos chart. Another time where the chaos chart would be rolled on is when you use a chaos token. A chaos token, you can only ever have 1 unless you are a rock star. You get to have 2. It gives you like advantage. You get to roll 2d20 on your roll. And I think this is perfect. Risk versus reward. You can only ever hold 1, so that's going to make the players want to use them, but that's gonna create chaos in the story, and it's gonna be a delicious loop of terror. I love it. Now, there are 3 different types of chaos charts. There are combat effects, local effects, and regional effects. A regional effect might be something to the lines of widespread flooding. Local effects could be something like a nest full of hatchlings is hidden under the brush, and combat effects could be something like someone remembers a folding knife in their pocket. It's not all bad necessarily, it's just chaotic. So those 3 additions on top of the Borg system work really well together. That is panic, survival, and chaos. Wonderful. There is also, as far as I'm aware, an additional change, which is heightened results. And I think that's with the solo rules, which we'll get into a little later. They didn't opt for the typical, like, Powered by the Apocalypse, weak hit style that I think a lot of board games use. It gets kind of built in, and really it's almost more like Savage Worlds. If the degree of success that you need, let's say you need a 12 and you get a 17, which I love this, by the way, very Pathfinder, Savage Worlds, the newer Pathfinder. Because sometimes you roll super high and you're like, great. But it is just a success, really, because I didn't like crit. So you have additional layers here. You have heightened failure. You failed really bad. Why can't I get my, here we go. Heightened, we'll just say over here. Why does my hand look so weird? So you have heightened failure on, actually no, even better. Fumble being the worst, in my opinion. Technically the game says heightened failure and fumble, as well as heightened success and crit are like the same. In my opinion, I would probably treat those slightly different. So fumble, heightened failure, failure, success, heightened success, crit. So if, let's say, the difficulty rating is a 10, if you roll a 5, that would be a heightened failure. If you roll a 15, that would be a heightened success. So that's where you're getting a little extra, or like, if things are going to go well, they're going to go well, and you get a little something extra. If things are going to go bad, they're going to go bad, and you're going to get a complication on top of that. I think that's perfect. Let's talk about the classes very briefly. Sometimes you don't have to use classes in a Borg system. You can go classless, but I think this is great the way it just perfectly fits into Jurassic Park. You have the Bloodsucker, which is like the lawyer, the Butterfinger, like the hacker. They have the Field Expert, which is like the paleontologist, Marlboro Man being the security guard, Rockstar being, I guess, Malcolm in the first movie, even though he's like a scientist too, but he's like a cool scientist. And then the Smelly Kid being the Smelly Kids. So, and they all have their own little charts and stuff like most Borgs do. In addition to that, they have their own quirks, motivations, and connections tables. And I feel like these Borg games, they sneak little D6 tables everywhere. Just, there's stuff for like random herbivores and just all kinds of cool stuff in the margins and everything. It's great. I know we were talking about chaos tokens, and you may be wondering how do you get more, and maybe I should have, it's whatever. If you roll a crit, that will restore your chaos token if you can hold one. Most characters can only hold one, unless you're a rock star, you can hold two. Now let's talk about the hacking minigame, which is something I'm very excited about. Pretty sure I ordered the cards for that. I tried to do it with a normal deck of cards just to wrap my brain around it because I just could not do it, but I think it makes sense to me now. It'll probably be easiest if I show you an image to give you an idea, but I will do my best to explain it. There are levels to this. For example, a password, which is just from left to right, and it's 7 cards. But more interestingly, there's like a keypad, which is a 3x3 grid. That's where things get a little spicy. Even beyond that, there's encrypted keypads, which has a bigger grid, and then there's also even trickier, the crossword and the passphrase, where it's like 4 cards and then like 4 cards and then 3 cards under it, and then it depends, but it'll make more sense on the image. Where's the image for this? Here we go. So yeah, the passphrase example has like 3 and then 6 and then 3, and some of them stack, which is kind of an interesting puzzle. Then there's also the cross scan and the quantum encryption. Now the key is from left to right. Your bottom left needs to be the lowest number. The top right needs to be the highest number, generally speaking. Using a deck of cards to the best of my ability, I assume the cards that they have, it's not going to be 4 of every value, like maybe the numbers, but I'm guessing the specials, there won't be as many. So what I did with a deck of cards, I used the 10 as a 0, ace as a 1, I think there's ones, and then all the other numbers are normal. So ideally, you have the 9 in the top right if you're doing a keypad. Ideally, you have the 10 or the 0 in the bottom left. And that gives you enough space because you need to go from descending to ascending. From the column has to start low and go high, and you can't have duplicates in the same row or column. And then from left to right in that bottom row, you need to start low and go high again. Where things get tricky is where they start mixing, where you've got like a 3x3, 3x4. So, and I'll post an example of something I did that was successful, but it was actually really cool. I love when you have, so most games you can basically do a quick roll and you can still do like a wits roll for this if you don't want to get into this. A hacking roll, boom. Did I succeed, yes or no? And then on top of that, a lot of games have like a progress bar or a pie chart for progress for that, progress clock, or even like tokens like Savage Worlds, but those are all kind of the same thing, for being honest. It's really just how many successes did I get in a certain amount of time. So it's the same thing as the first one, just drawn out a little more, which I do dig, I do like that. But this is another level where it does kind of rely on some player knowledge and skill to some degree. This is a third layer to where you want to dive even more into the hacking, and I will probably use this in all games. It gives me like a Fallout vibe. Like I could definitely do this in Fallout and love it. So you set up whichever thing you're dealing with here. So you lay out your terminal cards, which I'm assuming is either the back of the cards or separate cards. Every round, you're going to draw 3 cards. You play 1, and you discard the other 2. And it may be dependent on what you have. And you keep doing this until you can't. You may run into a situation where you can't play a card. All the cards that you have just will not fit. At that point, access denied. You did not succeed, did not pass go, you're done. If you can keep playing, you do that until you fill everything that's there. So if it's a 3x3 grid, that's 9 in total, they all have to line up to be ascending, no duplicates, in the way that I described. Where things get a little spicy is, and I use the jack as the @ sign, the queen as the $sign, and the king as the exclamation or the bang. However many of those are, I don't know in the deck offhand, but you can only play 1 in your matrices, so that leads me to believe there may be less than what's in a deck of cards the way that I played it. The @ sign is a wild for a 0 to 3, which was the jack for me. The $sign being 4 to 6, and then the bang or the exclamation point being a 7 to 9. This gives you a little bit of wiggle room, but you can only play 1 of them. So it kind of behooves you to wait and see where you can play that. So there's that. And then finally you have the special weird powers, which could be like your Joker. Especially if you're a Butterfinger character, you may have special abilities where you can draw 4 cards each round if you use it by banking it, or you search the deck for a specific card. So yeah, I think that is super neat. I love it. I'll probably do a demo of this to give you a better idea at some point. Not in this video, but another video. Maybe do a demo of the beta of Raptor Ruckus as a whole. Keep in mind, all of this is still in beta, not released yet, not physically here yet, but I'm sure I'll go into it again when it does. All right, on top of that, some things I want to mention that I think are super neat. Very briefly, build your own dinosaur chart. Hell yeah, dig it. That's so Jurassic Park-esque, but also could be like a Dino Crisis thing that you could do. And then a really solid bestiary and a set piece generator. I dig that a lot. Something I want to note about the bestiary is that one of my fears was that I was only going to have standard dinosaurs. That's not the case. It has some spicy dinosaurs in there, which I dig, but also some weird like megafauna stuff too. What was it, like the terror bird? Here we go. Deinonychus or Deinosuchus, sorry. Deinosuchus, which is a super crocodile. Dunkleistus, which is like a ancient fish. Megalodon, Smilodon, which is saber-toothed tiger. Yeah, terror bird, like I said, titanoboa, so you can almost do like anaconda and stuff like that. So yeah, dig that a lot. Now, let's go into the solo rules. Now the solo rules are coming in at 21 pages. The last 6-ish pages are a built-in solo adventure. It has a nice little raptor loop, which I think is great for people starting out solo to read the room, ask questions, plan your move, take action, observe effects, and then resolve the scene. I think that's great. There are some conflict procedures that help with escaping and fighting. For example, escaping has the difficulty rating being the attacker's tenacity plus any mods. You're gonna roll on that. Fighting being, for example, a difficulty rating of 8 plus the attacker's HP minus your weapon's maximum damage to give you difficulty ratings to keep everything player focused. And then those built-in heightened successes and failures help out a lot. Some things to note is that you do start with 3 survival as a solo player, and you have a bonus thing that you can do with the survival points where you can bump up a level. So for example, if you had a failure, you could make a failure a success by spending a survival point. If you had a success, you could make it a heightened success. If you had a heightened failure, you can make it a failure. And also, they recommended not using the conflict chaos whenever you're using the solo rules. Stick to the other chaos rules, the region and local. You have some of the things that you'd expect, like a D6-6 spark table, a mission generator, which is pretty sweet, and something I was very excited for that I didn't necessarily expect is a drop dice hex map. So let's talk about why this is really cool. You've got pretty much your whole dice set. You're gonna drop on a hex map of the island, and that's going to give you an idea as to what items are where, what herbivores are where, what carnivores are where. And the carnivores especially are very alive. So for example, the carnivores, they're gonna be moving, and if they move where the herbivores are, they are gonna kill those herbivores. If they move into the same area where you are, you're going to come into conflict with a carnivore, and you are alone and scared. There are also other NPCs that you can deal with, as well as set pieces and areas on the map. You, of course, can expand this through play, but it gives you a starting point as to where you should be going on the map to survive this situation. There is also a set piece generator, which is going to include things like opportunities and threats to keep things spicy. And then there's the solo adventure in the end. So yeah, I think this is a really solid solo edition. It's got all the things that I would expect in a solo supplement. Not a ton of like item charts necessarily, but I don't think that it's really necessary. You've got the main book for that. I think everything that you would need that maybe is not there, you just have in the roll book. So yes, that has been Raptor Ruckus. Let me know down in the comments below, how interested are you in Raptor Ruckus? How pumped are you? Did you back Raptor Ruckus? Is there anything similar to Raptor Ruckus? How many other ways could you use Raptor Ruckus? Jurassic Park, Dino Crisis, Anaconda, Lake Placid, maybe? I don't know. Those are just kind of some things that come to mind right now. And I don't know. I love those like creature feature kind of movies. So yeah. If you have enjoyed this content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you have not already. I will see you in the next one as we continue to explore the sacred art of gaming.